Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of What is Your Plan B? This is Open Archives of Heaven and my name is Duruoha. In part 1, we talked about how God used a personal experience to explain to me what it means to trust Him and depend on Him completely. Now in part 2, we are going to be talking about why it's so important to trust God like that. The thing is, most of us don't know that the why of a thing is just as important, if not more, than the what and the how. An example is most of us watching this video right now are born again and strive each and every day to become better Christians. But what makes that transition easy for us is that we understand the why of it. Knowing why I have to live my life every day to reflect Christ, knowing why Jesus even died for me. Those are the things we need to know in order to become a Christian, Christ-like. Thankfully, that's what Timmy is talking about in his Why Am I a Christian video series. If you don't know this or you want to strengthen your foundation, make sure you check that video out. Like this video to support the channel and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Okay, roll the intro. So in searching through the Bible for why it is so important for us to trust God completely, God gave me three things that we're going to talk about in this video. The first one, God said He created us to depend on Him. Let's look at Matthew. In that book, Jesus gave a parable that describes the kingdom of heaven. He said there was a man, he had some servants, he gave each of them talents before he traveled, and when he came back, some had done the work and one of them hadn't. But what most of us overlook when we read these stories in Sunday school is that these servants were given the talent. It wasn't something they produced by themselves. They were given the talents by their master. Let's look at another story in the Old Testament featuring Elijah, a woman who had just lost her husband and a debt that she could not pay. The creditors were coming to take her sons away, and so Elijah performed a miracle for her. But something very peculiar happened at the end of this story. Elijah told her that with the money that she had gotten from the miracle, that she should pay off her debt and live on the rest. Meaning that everything that this woman was supposed to use to survive for the rest of her life came from that miracle. Look at Joseph, Jacob, Isaac, Abraham. Everything that served as a capital for their enormous wealth came from God. Abraham in particular received this capital as gifts, one from the king of Egypt and one from the king of Gerar. When we look at Genesis chapter 1 verse 28, when God created Adam and Eve, He gave them two instructions. The first one, populate the earth, be fruitful. And the second one, take care of everything that I have created. Essentially, if I'm going to paraphrase it, God said, be managers of everything that I have created. I am giving you the keys. I am making you Lord over this land. Take charge. That was the instruction they were given. So when God said, I created you to depend on me, I think you get the point. The second thing that God showed me, He said, you are not your own. You have been bought with a great price. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Another part in 1 Corinthians says, whether I eat or I drink, whatever I do it all to the glory of God. You see, as Christians, our lives are meant to tell a story of the goodness and the glory of God. 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 18 says that we are mirrors and we reflect the glory of God. When people look at our lives, they're not supposed to see our actions, our works, our determination, our ideas. They're supposed to see God's grace, God's mercy, God's glory. Philippians tells us that God gives us the will and the power to do according to His good pleasure. So God gives us the capital to do the work, God gives us the will to do the work, then God gives us the power to do the work. So everything from start to finish is God. And then number 3, God said, if I'm not involved in your plans, I won't accept it. Genesis chapter 2, when Adam and Eve were being sent out of the Garden of Eden, God cursed the ground and said they would have to work extremely hard before they can produce anything from it. Essentially, God was telling them that my hand, my presence will not be on any work that you do on the ground. And so whatever you produce on that ground, I am not involved. But 2 chapters later, in Genesis chapter 4, we find out that Adam and Eve have 2 sons, Abel and Cain. Abel is a shepherd and Cain is a farmer. And when they both take their sacrifices to God, for no clear reason that is given in the Bible, God rejects Cain's sacrifice. And since we've already read chapter 2, we already know why God isn't accepting Cain's sacrifice. God wasn't the source of Cain's prosperity. On the other hand, Abel only had to manage everything that God had created. God created the sheep, God created the water that the sheep would drink, God created the grass that the sheep would eat. In everything that Abel was doing, he was only managing what God had already created. Now, I'm not saying you should drop everything you're doing and start taking care of sheep. No. What I'm saying is that in whatever we're about to do, we should have the mindset that God is the source, God is the supplier. Because it's only when we do that we can apply James chapter 1 verse 5 to our lives, which says, when you don't have enough wisdom for the journey ahead, ask God and He will give you graciously. It is only when you see God as the one who made the plans that you are following that you can go to Him and say, Lord, this is your plan. Tell me what to do. Okay, so we are done with part 2 of what is your plan B. If you guys have any suggestions or ideas about the videos that we put out, drop it in the comment section. Subscribe so you don't miss the final part of this video series, which will be dropping in 2 weeks time. Hopefully. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.